Mexico just fired another shot across the bow of anybody who cares about planting a flag in Mexico as a Plan B destination. A new law is being proposed that would allow Mexico to reform its current judiciary setup, to actually slip through a law that would permit the current president, one Andrés Manuel López Obrador, to effectively remain in power. It's a sign of exactly why Latin American countries tend to go insane, and seemingly overnight your entire experience in a country like Mexico can go from very, very positive to bad and dangerous. Now, Mexico is not the first country to try to do this. The current person masquerading as our commander-in-chief has really been a front for people behind the scenes running the country, making fateful decisions affecting the lives of hundreds of millions of people. And one of the ways that they've been allowed to happen is that Barack Obama has been allowed to operate things from behind the scenes. If you doubt that or you dismiss that, that's fine, but the idea that somebody other than Joe Biden has been running the country seems beyond question. And so what Mexico is now trying to do is something very similar. What they're trying to do is pass a law that would allow Mexican judges to be appointed and effectively controlled by popular vote. At this stage of the game, you have to question whether or not democracy is actually what it's purported to be. The idea that if you get all worked up and you go vote your heart out at whatever election, presidential or otherwise, you're incredibly naive to think that that's somehow how the system actually works, and that your vote matters, and that you're affecting policy, and that the universe just can't do without it. But what's being proposed in Mexico is a way to actually allow popularity contests to rule the Mexican judiciary. I'm going to read to you here a letter
of concern from the International Association of Judges, and it begins with, the Presidency Committee of International Association of Judges has been informed of recent developments in the Republic of Mexico concerning the status of judges. Number one, the executive branch plans to change the system of appointing judges to affect not only new appointees, but existing sitting judges as well. Under the plan, candidates would be nominated by the executive, legislative, and judicial branches and vetted by special committee created by each branch. Finally, the candidates would be put to popular vote. The main proposed changes are, starting in 2025, justices would be directly elected after a 60-day campaigning period. Their number would decrease from 11 to 9, and their term reduced from 15 years to 12. Election of judges by popular vote. The scope of popular vote has yet to be defined. It may only affect federal judiciary, which includes 1,600 judges. The main proposal to replace the technical exam-based judicial career track, which would lower standards for selecting future judges. Details such as professional qualifications, including funding campaigning, remain unclear. No doubt that's intentional. So it's a way to go around the Mexican Supreme Court, and they go on to explain their concerns with this. Introducing popular vote as final, decisive in the process of appointing judges is a contravention of the principle that judges should be appointed based on merit and objective criteria. So you turn something that's a meritocracy into a popularity contest, and a popularity contest based on the loyalty of the people that you're going to put into place. And that's saying nothing about the overwhelming likelihood and risk of voter fraud. Judicial reform must be consistent with well-established universally accepted principles of independence, free from external pressures. We ask the Mexican executive branch to reconsider. This bill has passed. This bill is now law. The judiciary has been changed, and all of these proposed changes have now been adopted and will be signed into law.
The main thing to learn from all of this is that any place can turn into a living hell overnight. And Latin American countries in particular have a tremendous track record, untainted by success, in preventing these kind of blow-ups. And the reason that this happens, they don't take things like protecting the judiciary seriously. They don't take these things as the bedrock upon which their entire society and the civilized discourse between people, that these things are necessary so that there isn't a big flare-up of violence and so that things don't get out of control. If you're shaking your head thinking, yeah, but that's exactly what the US is doing, that's exactly my point. The fact that the very firmament upon which the United States was built is being destroyed with a jackhammer. You're allowed to print as much money as you want. Nobody wants a war, but who gives a shit? We'll just have one anyway. Other people will go off and fight and die so that your companies can get bigger dividends. All of these things that are continuing to pick up speed, unless and until these trends change, we're headed for a very rough time. Now, my hope is that reality will force a certain set of decisions on people that really in our lifetime, most folks, especially in the US, have not had to face. The belief in consumer culture, the US government can bully people and set policy and meddle in other nations' affairs and get away with that, will come to an end when some of the bad ideas run headlong into reality. The fact that you're seeing what's happening in Mexico, happening in the US is a very bad parallel. The idea that you could somehow overturn the judicial system and turn it into a popularity contest so that, well, we don't really like that decision, so we'll just pretend that there's a vote and change it. It's a very, very dangerous development. You may be wondering, so does this change my outlook on Mexico? In the short term, no. These kinds of things will take time. There's a big outcry. The United States and Canada have pushed back against this, warning Mexico, please don't do this. There's going to be a lot of horse trading and a lot of jockeying for position. But AMLO is on the way out. He's obviously going to try to hold on to the reins of power. Nothing surprising about that. It's already been done in the United States. The notion that the world is headed into a very difficult time is undeniable. And my point in putting this material together for you is to help you educate yourself on how you're going to prevent the worst possible outcome. There are other people online offering services to help you internationalize your life. They charge $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000. After 2.5 decades running around the world and setting up my own life internationally, I'm here to tell you the first thing that you need to know is you don't need to spend that kind of money in order to diversify and create a plan B. If you want real clarity on this topic, I created a very simple, cost-effective way for people to get the kind of information and the answers that I would want if our roles were reversed. And if you want to join a group of very dynamic, hardworking, freedom-loving individuals where we get together and share ideas and build the kind of community and resilience that will help us through the times to come, I call that the X-Plan community. The X in the equation is your specific needs for you and your family to have a good, well-thought-out plan B. So check it out below. And remember, your freedom begins the moment you realize nobody's coming to save you. Thanks. I'll be back in another video.